Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is part 4 in a 5-part series specifically designed for new members or people that are just jumping into BNI Connect for the first time and want to learn more about where everything is and all the great stuff that you can do in BNI Connect. In today's webinar, what we're going to go over is the member tools and reports. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on our brave exploring caps and go beyond the home page that we see here to find out what other information we can get from BNI Connect that's not available right here on the main home screen. This webinar was preceded by 3 other webinars. You are welcome to catch the recordings. They're all available on the support site as well as on youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. In the first webinar, we went over how to fill out your profile. In the second webinar, we went over how to pass online referrals to other members in your chapter and within your region, and one-to-ones, and thank you for closed business. In yesterday's webinar, we went over the social media side of BNI Connect. So what are some of the things that we can do to interact with other people within BNI and BNI Connect? Again, today is the member tools and reports, and the last webinar in our series is going to be tomorrow, where we're going to talk about inviting and registering visitors through BNI Connect. Before we get started with today's content, just a couple of real quick housekeeping things. First is this is a live webinar, so if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask those questions as we're going through the material today. All you need to do is type your question in. I'll see that question pop up on my screen and I'll be able to answer it as we're going through the material. Or if it's something completely and totally unrelated but you want to ask it anyway, that's perfectly fine. I always leave plenty of time for questions, and my promise to you is that I will stay on this webinar as long as it takes to answer every single one of your questions. That being said, I know that your time is very important, especially people that may need to rush off to a client, and I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about BNI Connect. So I do try to keep the content of these to 30 minutes. We'll make sure that we get you back to your next client or back to returning those phone calls or answering those emails, hopefully right at the bottom of the hour. All right, so let's go ahead and take a dive into BNI Connect. And again, we're going to talk about the member tools and reports. Now, a couple of days ago, I went through all of the different things here on the home screen. So this is where you pass all your referrals, and there's a bunch of great reports here as far as reviewing all of the slips that you've turned in. And there's some great information that you can get from that. For example, who are you passing the most referrals to? Who are you having the most one-to-ones with? Who haven't you had a one-to-one with in a long time? You can get all that information out of these Review My Slips reports. However, there's one report on here that you may or may not have clicked on before, and that is this My Personal Participation report. And that's a great report for going through. It's really the Personal Palms report, which we're going to see in the reports section as well. But this will give you a 1-year, week-by-week view of your membership. So you can see week by week how many referrals you've given, how many referrals you've received, visitors, one-to-ones. By the way, if you're not sure what these acronyms are up here along the top, A is the attendance. So there's different types of attendance. This is where the word PALMS comes from. You can either be present, absent, late, medical, or substitute. So PALMS, present, absent, late, medical, or substitute. Then we have a couple of R columns here, RGI, RGO, RRI, and RRO. Now the RG stands for referrals given. So that's when you are giving somebody else another referral, and the other side of that relationship is a referral received. So there's always a referral giver and a referral receiver, and we record both sides of that transaction. The I and the O stand for inside and outside. An inside referral is when 2 members utilize each other's businesses, which does happen quite frequently in BNI. It's a great way to build credibility between 2 people. You utilize somebody else's services. However, the point of BNI is that we're all growing our networks through the other members in the chapter, not just using it as a buying club. So the O is the outside referrals, and that's when I introduce you to anybody else I know. It could be my mother, my father, my brother, my uncle, my niece's cousin's nephew, or something like that. And anybody else I know, and I'm introducing them to somebody, that's considered an outside referral. Visitors are visitors that you have invited and show up to the chapter. One-to-ones are meetings with other members. Thank you for closed business is when other people have generated money, or when you've generated money for other people. And CEUs are the chapter education units, very similar to being on this webinar today. So make sure, by the way, that you go back to your home screen and make sure you submit a CEU slip. Give yourself 1 credit for being here today. So I want to make sure I submit a credit for being on today's BNI webinar, and submit that, and you will have gotten a CEU credit this week. All right, so as I promised, though, we need to go beyond the home screen here. And there's a couple of things that I want to show you beyond the home screen. Now, everything else in BNI Connect is going to be located under these menus along the top. Now, depending on your level of access, you might be a member, or you might be, let's say, on the membership committee, or maybe you're the chapter webmaster or the growth coordinator or the vice president or the president. But depending on your level of access, you may or may not see all of these options along the top. However, most everybody is going to see network, operations, and reports, and that's really where we're going to concentrate today. Network, operations, and reports. Now, network is all of the social media interactive side of things, the groups, the connections, testimonials. That's where you can go and really you talk to people, you connect with people. You're searching the BNI directory, for example. Operations and reports is where everything else is, I guess, hidden in the system. Operations is the day-to-day management of your chapter, or the day-to-day management of the activities in the chapter. Reports are always read-only. So if you're looking to do something or enter something, you're going to go to operations. If you're just looking to get data back out of the system, statistics or things like that, you're going to go to reports. So let's take a look at the operations menu and take a look at a couple of things that are available under here. Now, this is mostly going to be leadership team level stuff. So if you're not on the leadership team, you may not see a ton of these options. But on the left-hand side, we'll have the different categories. We can manage visitors. We can manage the meeting. We can manage memberships or goals or the mentoring program. So again, if you're a mentor coordinator, you're going to see mentoring program. If not, that's not going to be visible on your screen right now. But almost everybody should have, at the very least, this one option down here called Create Email. And there's a couple of very useful things under here. The first of which is this one at the top that says Email My Chapter. And this is a great way to really get in touch with your chapter. So I remember, by the way, I'm a member. I've been a member of BNI since 2002. So I've been a member way before BNI Connect ever existed. And before BNI Connect, especially when I was on the leadership team, it was a real pain in the neck to send out an email to the other members of my chapter. I'd always have to pretty much go to my Outlook and look for the last sent message and hit reply all and just kind of hope and pray that it went to the right people, which of course it never did because it still included the people that had just dropped. It didn't include like 3 of the new members that were in the group. So it was very unreliable to do that. What this will do is Email My Chapter gives you the most recent and updated distribution list for your chapter. And by the way, if you happen to be a director consultant on the line with us today, depending on what chapter you have selected, this will give you the email addresses of that particular chapter. So this way I can go in and I can copy this. I just have to use my own email program. BNI Connect is not an email provider. You do need to use your own email program. I do highly recommend pasting that into the BCC line, regardless of whether you're using AOL mail or whether you're using Gmail, whether you're using Outlook or Office 365 or whatever else it might be. Make sure you use that BCC line. That is my #1 recommendation. And then from there, just type out your email and send it. Very easy to make sure that you're now sending that message to the right people. Keep in mind also that we are not a spam organization or a direct selling organization. Don't use that to, say, hey, I'm running a sale this week. Use it for networking purposes and credibility building purposes. Now, the second thing on here is a wonderful tool, and it's called the visitor invitation, email visitor invitation. And the visitor invitation is a great way, and I'm going to cover this, by the way more in depth tomorrow. So if you have a couple of minutes tomorrow, join us for the visitors webinar. But I just want to touch on it today, just in case you aren't able to make it to tomorrow's webinar. But the first step in the visitor process is inviting a visitor to your chapter. And this is a very, very easy way to do that. All you need to do is click on Email Visitor Invitation. And what this is going to do is it uses just an internal email template. You just need to fill in the blanks here, and it will produce an email message and automatically invite somebody to come and visit your chapter. Now, we're not recording the names. We're not making some big marketing list or anything like that. So if you want to test this out, here's my suggestion. Just send an invitation to yourself. Very, very easy to do. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to send an invitation to Jeremy Walsh, from BNI, and I'm going to put my own email address in here, jeremy@therightclick.net, and then a personal message. The personal message is going to be the first paragraph of this custom email that gets sent out. And the email is going to automatically include your chapter name and your location and what time you meet and some very branded material in there about BNI and explaining it. But this is what makes it sound like it's coming from you, because it is coming from you. My recommendation is that this should never be the first time you are speaking to somebody. Again, we are not a cold call organization. We are a referral organization. So the way that I always use this is as a follow-up to a verbal invitation. So let's say I meet somebody at a networking event. I've gone to a chamber event, or I've gone to a business after hours or something like that. I meet somebody there that I think would benefit from visiting my chapter. I'll say, hey, you should really come and visit my BNI chapter. I'd love to introduce you to my referral partners. Do you mind if I send you some more details on that? Once they say yes, that is when I use this tool. So I can put in as a personal message, it was great seeing you at the chamber event last night. I would love to introduce, it would help if I could spell today. I would love to introduce you to my referral team. All right. I click send. It's going to put this in a nice package, stick a little bow on top, and immediately email that out to whatever email address I have on record there. And here it is. I just got it in my email box here. It comes in that quickly. And here's a nice BNI graphic up here. Then it says, Dear Jeremy, it was great seeing you at the chamber event. So it puts my message in there. And then it puts in that they're cordially invited to the meeting, what day we meet, what time we meet. It briefly explains what BNI is all about, that we're a professional business networking organization. Lets them know we're looking for somebody to be in their position. And then the best part is, please click here to register, or simply reply to this email to RSVP. So all they need to do at this point is, if they click here, this will take them directly to the registration page for your chapter, where they can register in order to come and visit your chapter meeting. It'll then send them a confirmation email saying you're now registered to come to this meeting. It will also then notify your chapter leadership team that somebody is registered. So your president, your vice president, your secretary, treasurer, all of your visitor hosts, and even your chapter director consultant, they'll all know that you now have a visitor coming to next week's meeting. It is as easy as that. And as I mentioned, if they do reply to that message, so if they hit reply on that, hold on, let me get back to that message here. So if they hit reply, this will go back to your email address. So whatever email address you have registered in BNI Connect, you will get the response to that if they reply. So that's a great little function to be able to invite visitors and have them register themselves for an upcoming meeting. All right, there's some other great things under operations as well. For example, if you didn't want to register people that way, you can always come in and register a prospective visitor under Manage Visitors. It's just a very simple form you can fill out if you have a visitor coming to a future meeting. It also makes your visitor host job a lot easier. There's a goal program where you can follow along with your chapter goals. You probably won't be able to enter those goals, but you can view your chapter goals if your leadership team has those set up. What I'd like to do now, though, is switch gears. Again, most of the stuff under there is going to be the leadership team level stuff and entering POMS reports and applications and renewals and all that kind of stuff. So we're not going to cover that today. We'll cover that later in the month with a leadership team level tools and reports. But what I'd like to do is flip over to the reports menu now and show you some of my favorite reports in the system. We're not going to have time to go through all of them today. That's okay. My recommendation is just jump in and start clicking on reports because you really can't break anything. They're all read only. So take a look at them, see if there's some interesting information in there that you'd like to do, and maybe you'll find a couple of your own favorites. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to reports, and I'm going to go down into the reports menu. And you will see that there is a ton of reports in here. There's like 20 different reports that you can run. I'm only going to show you about probably 5 or 6 of my favorite reports and tell you why they're my favorite reports as well. So looking at them, the member training report, that's a great report, mostly used by leadership team, but if you want to see the training histories, you are welcome to take a look at that one. But the second report down is the chapter roster report. And the reason I like this one, click go on this, is it is going to give you pretty much the obvious, the chapter roster. So at the top, we're going to have all of our leadership teams. And at the bottom, we are going to have all of our chapter members. So it's going to list all of the chapter members, what their classification is, what their company name is, and what their phone number is. So if you need to get in touch with them, this is a great little contact sheet in order to be able to give a call to other members. It will also show you the last 90 days of activity for the other members of your chapter. Now, I personally love this little view because to me, it's kind of a little bit of a red flag report. I'm a more senior member in my chapter, so good givers gain. I'm looking out for the other people in my chapter, and especially new members or people that might be struggling. I like to see, well, who hasn't received a referral in the last 90 days, or who hasn't had any one-to-ones in the last 90 days. Maybe I should reach out to them and see if I can help them out member to member. So that's what I like to use this report for personally. But at the top, it's also a great contact detail. So if you need to get in touch with, let's say you're having an issue in the chapter, the people that you want to get in touch with is the membership committee. They're the people that they're the HR department for the chapter. They handle all of those issues that you might be having, but you may not remember who's on the membership committee. This is a great way to take a quick look and find out who do I need to talk to when I go to the meeting next week. In my case, it would be Frank or Dennis or Elizabeth. Let's say you have a great idea for an education moment. You want to talk to the education coordinator. That would be the place to find out who it is. Or say you have a big problem. You want to talk to the director consultant. You can find out who the director consultant is for your chapter and their phone number so that you can give them a call here. Now, jumping down a couple of reports, the membership dues report, that's a fairly obvious report. It's very close to the chapter roster report. It's just going to show you really the same detail, but also when people are due for renewal, which if you're on the membership committee or the leadership team, that will provide more detail for you in managing your duties. But the one I want to show you is below that. It's called the meeting notes report. Now this one on the surface is going to seem really, really simple and rudimentary, but it carries a lot of weight with it. If I click go, this report is just going to show us a list of chapter members and their company name. And then it has a blank space. Now, what do you think this might be used for? Well, it's really used for taking notes at a meeting. So this one is really meant to be printed or exported. So if I print this out, what this does is it gives me the ability to have a sheet of paper that I take with me to the meeting that's updated with the most current membership and be able to, as people are going around the room, now I'm in a chapter of about 50 members. So I can tell you that by the time we're halfway around the room and 20, 25 people have given their 45-second weekly presentations, I don't necessarily remember what the second or third or the fourth person talked about. I remember the very, the lively ones or the ones that are, really engaging, but I'm not going to remember everything that every single member said. This will help me to do this. This will help me to be a better referral giver by taking notes while people are speaking, even if you're just jotting down a couple of quick things that'll jog your memory. Even if you just leave it on the front seat of your car or you crumple it in a ball and throw it away at the end of the meeting, the act of writing it down will help to engage you more with what people are talking about and be able to remember what they asked for. Now, there's a lot of people that they don't like the format of it. There's not enough room, or, hey, I want to take notes electronically. You can do that by exporting this. Now, you'll notice up here that there's 3 buttons. On almost every report, you have these 3 options: export without headers, export, and print. Well, print is pretty obvious. It sends it to the printer. If you were to export this, what this does is it takes everything in this report and it pushes it out to Excel. So if I click Excel here, whoops, had another document open there. Should probably close that one. So this is going to give me everything that's in that report. And what you'll notice is that all this stuff up here at the top, when did I run the report and what chapter and who's running it, that is all included in this report as well. Now, that's all well and good if you're just going to save this so you can go back and see, oh yeah, I ran this on April 13th. If you're just filing it away, that's great information. If not, what it has the effect of doing is kind of messing things up because it has all these merged cells and formatting and all that kind of stuff, which makes it really hard to sort and do things with the report. So there's also the option export without headers. Now this export without headers, it takes out all that extra information at the top. So now what I can do is, let's say that I like this sorted by first name instead of last name. I can now put sort on here and sort this A to Z, so it now is sorting by first name instead of last name, or I want it sorted by company name. Let's say I don't think that the fields are big enough, so I'm going to go like this. I'm going to expand that out. This field, I'm going to drag that out so it's a little bit bigger. I want to select all. I'm going to change the height on that so the notes field is even bigger. I can do all those things once I get it to Excel to make it behave the way I want it to. I can even format this as a table, give it a nice variegated color scheme here so it's easier to work with. And then if I want to, I can even start taking notes electronically during the meeting using my laptop or whatever mobile device you're using for that. All right, so that's the meeting notes report. Now the next report on the list here is the summary POMS report. This right here is the bread and butter report of what BNI is all about. It's the POMS report. Now on your home page you have your personal POMS report, which is just the information for you. This is the POMS for the entire chapter and for a longer period of time, or really any period of time you want. By default, it's going to show you the last full 6 months. So right now that's October through the end of March. But you can change this to be whatever you want it to be. You can go back 10 years in time or 20 years in time if your chapter is that old and look at all the statistics. I can go through today if I want to as well. I'm not limited to last month. And I can look at all of these statistics for my chapter for the last 20 years. Now our chapter isn't even 20 years old. It's only about 16 years old, so this is only going to go back about 16 years. But I can see basically, oh yeah, we've passed $25 million worth of business in our chapter. That's a nice statistic to know. I can also see who's passed the most referrals or who's brought the most visitors, things like that. Of course, I can export these as well, which makes it a little bit easier to mine the data in there. And notice that this doesn't include well, it's only including current members of the chapter. However, if I were to add all these numbers up, this total actually includes everything. It's just hiding the dropped members. If I want to see the dropped members, I just click this option here, Show Dropped Members, and this will show basically every single member that has ever been a member of our chapter. Now, I kind of like this because it also gives me an opportunity to, maybe I want to reach out to some of these members if they, see if they want to come back to BNI, especially the ones that were longtime members or that were very high producing members. All right, scrolling down the list, just a couple more reports that I want to show you. The classifications not in chapter. This is kind of a fun report for me. You have to kind of take it with a grain of salt, but what this report does is it will show you all of the professions in BNI, and there's about 500 of them. It's going to show you all of the ones that you don't have in your chapter, but it's also going to rank them. So what it's going to do is it's going to compare all the other chapters in your area and say, okay, well, of these ones that you don't have, what are the most popular ones in all of the other chapters? So for example, I can attest to the fact that we do not have a business attorney and we do not have printing services. So BNI Connect is also telling me, well, that you don't have those. I need to invite one of those, but you also have 7 other chapters. Now we have about 20 chapters in Rhode Island, and 7 of them do have a business attorney, and another 6 of them do have printing services. So that tells me that those are pretty popular professions in my area. So what I should be doing is really trying to reach out to those people. There's less competition with other chapters. We know that they can't just come and visit our chapter, then go join another chapter because their spot's probably already taken. It also tells me that it's a successful profession. So usually the people that are successful in BNI tend to stay in those chapters. So I can, with some confidence say to a business attorney or say to somebody in printing that, hey, you know what? We have quite a few people in the printing industry in BNI in this area, so you probably want to consider this. Now, where I say you have to take this one with a grain of salt is that you will notice that we have mortgages listed here. Now, I don't know of many chapters in BNI anywhere that doesn't have a mortgage broker. That's because in this particular case, the category mortgages is actually broken into about 7 different things, and some of them even mean the same things, or it could be spelling errors in the categories. So when you're looking at this, you really do need to do a mental comparison. I wouldn't necessarily invite a mortgage broker, but I do know that what we have in our chapter is a quote-unquote residential mortgage broker. That is why this isn't a match here, because theoretically we could still invite somebody that does commercial lending, or maybe somebody that just specializes in high yield jumbo loans or something like that most other companies can't touch. So the other interesting thing about this report is, as I mentioned, there's about 500 categories. You can go through and look at all of them, and there's some very interesting ones in here. Ergonomics, dermatologist, surveyor, stonemason, meditation, water features, internet consulting, chef, financial services, health, photography. I mean, there's just so many different professions that you might not have thought to invite before. And if they're in this list, they have existed or are currently existing somewhere in BNI. All right, there's some other great reports in here. The last report I want to show you is the member details report. Now, this is great because it allows you to do what's called a gains exchange with other members. And you can use this report to be able to view their gains profile before you have a one-to-one meeting with them, and be able to print this out and send it if you are the one doing a one-to-one with somebody and you'd like to send them your gains profile. Now, we are at the bottom of the hour. The very last thing I want to show you is back on the home screen. Now, going back to the home screen, once you've started finding your favorite reports and your favorite functions and all of that, BNI Connect does have a customized shortcut menu or a customizable shortcut menu that you can use to keep all of your favorite things, one click away instead of 3, 4, 5 clicks away. So the way that we do that is by going to My BNI Business here, and then you have My Network, which has all of the networking components, including your regional document library. And then below that, you should see Chapter. And what this is your own customized shortcut list. By default, it'll have some things that we think you're going to be interested in. But if you click Configure, you can customize this any way you want to. So let's say that I want to clear it out completely. I'm just going to X all these things out. On the left-hand side is my active menu. On the right-hand side is all of the things I have access to. So let's say the things that I'm going to be doing most. I'm going to email the visitor invitation. I'm going to view the POM summary. I really love the email my chapter. Let's see, where's the meeting notes report? Notes, here it is, meeting notes report. And let's say I want this email my chapter first, so I'm going to drag and drop that up to the top. And I think that's good for now. I'm going to click Submit to save those changes. And let's close out of this window. And now we can see that my menu has been updated just to those things. So instead of going to Operations Chapter, Create Email, Email My Chapter, I can just go from my BNI Business page, just go to all the chapter functions, Email My Chapter, and I now have that at my fingertips. All right, so we are at the bottom of the hour. What I would like to do now is to open this up to any questions. If anybody has any questions whatsoever, I'd love to answer those questions now. While you're thinking of any questions, just a reminder, this is being recorded. It will be made available usually a couple of days. It takes me to get these up to YouTube and do all the funky transitions to them and conversions and update all the articles associated with it. But we will have that up there shortly. You'll be able to find them again on the support site. So if you'd like to, click the question mark in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you to the support site. And on the support site, you'll see our list of upcoming webinars. We do have one left in this series, and that is going to be tomorrow, inviting and registering visitors. A good referral for me is if you think that this is a great learning opportunity, if you got something of value out of today's webinar, please do let other people know about these webinars and invite them to the Inviting and Registering Visitors webinar. You can find the recordings as well by clicking on any of the recorded months or by going to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. We have a YouTube channel, BNI Connect Global. If you'd like to be notified when there are new things uploaded, just make sure that you subscribe to the channel. All right, so let's see. John has a question. What section was that last report? Favorites? So are you referring to the classifications not in chapter report, or how do you put your favorites in? So the place to put your favorites in, if that's what you're asking, is this chapter menu here back on the home page. So click the home page, the home icon in this upper left-hand corner. And then it says My BNI Business, then it says My Network, and below that is Chapter. And this will be all your favorite things. Click the Configure button, and this will allow you to configure your quick links, which will allow you to put your favorites in there. So that last report that I showed was the classifications. I can start typing classifications. It actually runs out of room here, but I can get that edited over to my favorites report. I click Submit to save that, and I'm going to close out, and you'll see that that gets refreshed, and now I have the classifications not in chapter report that I can run right from there instead of going to the reports menu. Cool, thank you, John. All right, do we have any other questions? I'd love to answer questions. All right, going once, going twice. All right, if there's no additional questions, thank you guys so much for being here today. I really do greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your very hectic, busy days as a business owner. I know how hectic it can be. So thank you guys for being here with me today and spending this time learning more about BNI Connect. I hope you found something of value in it. I look forward to seeing you all on a future webinar, and happy connecting.